Hi and welcome to my workshop. You are watching Casual DIY channel, and if you are starting your adventure in woodworking or just bought your new table saw and not sure what blades you should be using and when to use which ones, you're in the right place. I'm going to talk you through some of the basics that you need to know when picking up a table saw blade. The amount of different types of saw blades is actually quite staggering, as depending what material you want to cut on your table saw will actually have its own dedicated blade, the best possible solution to cut through that material. However, I would suggest that you invest in only 3 types of blades that will cover more or less the whole spectrum of different types of jobs. Yes, they will not be perfect for every single scenario, but they will do the job. However, first of all, let's explain what certain names and things actually mean when it comes to the saw blades. First of all, let's talk about the thickness of the blades, i.e. the kerf. Okay, you can have thin kerf and you can have full kerf. And to be fair, anything in between. Now, you would consider a blade a thin kerf if it is more or less 1.6, maybe up to 2.3 millimeters in thickness. Anything that is full kerf, that's about 3.2 millimeters in thickness. Now, you may think to yourself, well, why would you need a thin curved blade in the first place? Well, for example, because they are thinner, they will produce a lot less sawdust as you are removing less material at each pass. Secondly, because you are doing so, if your table saw is not too powerful, the motor will actually not struggle as much as if you were to use a full-size kerf blade. And on top of it, they will usually cut hardwoods, denser woods a lot easier with less stress on the motor, as there is less material removed at each pass. Now, the potential downside of a thin curved blade is that because it's thinner, you've got a higher chance that the blade itself will flex either way and won't give you as good and clean cuts as the full curved blades. And to be absolutely honest with you, I never had a thin curved blade in my workshop. Usually my table saws have enough power to actually use the full curved blades. However, you may find blades, and they are quite common, that the kerf is more or less somewhere in the middle between the thin kerf and the full kerf. Like for example this Freud, the kerf on this one is 2.8 millimeters. The next very important information about saw blades that you probably heard of is the amount of teeth they actually have. So you can have saw blades with 24 teeth, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and so on. So depending on how many teeth the blade will have, it will have a specific role. For example, this trend has got 24 teeth on it, and this is a ripping blade. It will perform very well on ripping down boards, so you would not use it for cross-cutting. It may not leave the best finish on the piece you are cutting. Next, we've got the all-purpose or combination blades. So they will range between 40 to 50 teeth. So I've got 40 teeth on this Freud, 48 on this trend. And these blades will tackle most of your jobs, most of your projects, and will meet most of your needs. However, they may not give you the best possible result for every scenario. But that's more or less the blades. If you are beginning your adventure in woodworking, that's what you should be aiming for, to have at least a very decent combination blade. So with teeth between 40 to 50. That will be the main blade, the go-to blade in your workshop. Now these blades will usually give you a decent result on cross-cutting and ripping down. And the next blade I want to show you has got 80 teeth on board. A blade of this type will be absolutely perfect for cross-cutting and finish work, okay? So it will give you a very nice finish and quality of a cut. However, it will struggle with rip cuts. And these are the blades I will be having in my workshop at all times. So I'm going to have a low tooth count blade, combination blade, and a high tooth count blade. How about the kerfs on these blades? There's 3mm kerf on the 24 teeth, 2.8mm kerf on the 80 teeth, 3mm kerf on this 48 teeth, and on my Freud you've got 2.8mm kerf. Next, let's talk about the tooth rake. So basically it's an angle of the tooth in relation to the center of your blade. Blades with zero hook or angle close to zero will be more resistant to cutting. It will be a little bit harder for them to cut through. However, you will have a higher degree of control over the blade itself. Whereas the blades with more positive angled teeth will be more aggressive and a little bit harder to control. However, in theory, they will cut through a lot faster. And the last thing we're going to be talking about today is the teeth orientation against themselves. Okay, so the most common one will be ATB, alternate top bevel. So what does that actually mean exactly? Well, the teeth one after another will be alternating in an angle against each other, just like so. I'm going to show you on the blade right now, and as you can see, the tooth over here is sloping towards my pencil, and the next one is sloping the other way, and that position of the teeth is called ATB, and it's the most common one you're going to find on saw blades. The next layout of teeth is called FTG, flap top grind, and basically what that is, the teeth are just flat like this. Okay, now there are a few more options out there, for example ATBR, TCG, and so on. However, the most common ones you're going to be using is the ATB alternative top bevel, and that's what you're going to be mostly using. In some cases, the flat top grind, the FTG, is actually quite a good solution as well, especially if you want to make grooves or half laps joinery, anything like that, and the flat teeth actually make the joint and make the cut a lot better in that instance. Now that's all the basic information I wanted to cover in today's video, and hopefully now the names and the specs won't actually confuse you when you're going to be picking the right blade for you and for your needs and the tasks you're going to be tackling in your workshop. I hope you enjoyed today's video. However, I do have some really cool playlists that should appear over here with plenty more videos about basic stuff when it comes to woodworking tools and some DIY projects. So hopefully I'll see you on one of those videos there. Take care.